Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Gentex Multimedia, streaming live to you from Brisbane. And of course, today is a very important day, final day of the test, and we will soon be joined by our very special guest, Sathish Rajendran from BSK, Brisbane Super King. And of course, we know it's nail-biting moments today, but we'll try and get all the updates from him. But right now, of course, we know that tropical cyclones are happening. It has been sort of toned down a bit, but let's get that weather update from Dilraj Dilar.
Good morning everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 32 degree. Brisbane area is cloudy with medium chance of showers. There is chance of a thunderstorm, possibly severe. Light winds becoming southeasterly 15 to 20 km per hour in the late evening. Fire danger is low to moderate. Sun protection is recommended till 4 p.m. and UV index is predicted to reach 13, that is extreme. And an update on Queensland Cyclone Kimi that has weakened to tropical low. Cyclone Kimi has weakened to a tropical low off North Queensland, but emergency services are warning people that the storm is still packing very strong winds and could bring flooding. Coastal residents have been spared the worst after the cyclone weakened from a Category 2 system to a storm sitting 135 km north of Townsville on Tuesday morning. The Bureau of Meteorology says the system still has wind gusts of up to 95 km per hour and will bring heavy downpours to the region between Innisfail and Bowen on Tuesday and Wednesday. Queensland Fire and Emergency Services Commissioner John Bolger says ex-tropical cyclone Kimi still poses a risk and people should remain vigilant. Now let's listen to Jonathan from Bureau of Meteorology with an update on TC Kimi.
The storms are forecast for parts of eastern Queensland and northeast New South Wales over the coming days, with the potential for dangerous conditions on Tuesday and Wednesday. On Monday afternoon, storms are already firing up along a coastal trough in eastern Queensland, and there is the potential that these storms could turn severe along the coast south of Mackay, with damaging winds, heavy rainfall and large hail all a risk. Tuesday will be a dangerous thunderstorm day right across southeast Queensland, including Brisbane, the Gold Coast and up north towards Rockhampton and Mackay. Severe thunderstorms are likely, and these could produce damaging to destructive wind gusts in excess of 100 km an hour, large to giant hail in excess of 5 centimetres and heavy rainfall leading to flash flooding. The storm risk will extend into New South Wales on Wednesday, and places like Armidale, Coffs Harbour and Port Macquarie will come under thunderstorm threat. And another day of severe thunderstorms across southeast Queensland, likely extending into Thursday. These storms come off the back of a wet weekend across the two states, with upwards of 200 millimetres falling across 2 days. And since 9 a.m. on Monday morning, Wallace Lake has recorded more than 250 millimetres, and so a warning for very heavy rainfall is still current for parts of the New South Wales Central Coast, easing from Monday evening. Severe thunderstorms aren't over just yet, and we could see some significant impacts over the coming days. Be sure to make the necessary preparations in advance, check all forecasts and warnings, and stay safe.
Thank you very much for that update. And right now, I'd like to welcome to Sathish. Sathish, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Umeshi. Good morning, Brisbane Indian Times, Australian Indian Radio. Good morning, everyone in Brisbane.
Yes, and of course, thank you so much for your time and joining in today. So, what's the feel today? What's happening out there?
So today is going to be an important day, or maybe an historic day in the Indian and Australian cricket, or maybe in the world cricket, because after 3 months of good series between India and Australia, so Australia won the one day by 2-1, and then India came back strongly and they won the T20 by winning more T20 games by 2-1. Credit to Hardik Pandya who smashed it and won the T20 series. And it all came to this Border Gavaskar trophy. You know, it's like same like Ashes between Australia and England. between India and Australia is the Border Gavaskar Trophy, which is very, very important for both the nations. So India, after this 36 all out in Adelaide, everyone thought it's going to be 4-0 series, especially after the King Kohli going to India for his first baby birth. But India came really strong, and they showed their character. They showed that they belong to this international arena of world cricket. So all the young boys came back very strongly with some senior players like Rahana and Pujara and Rohit Sharma and everyone. And in the second test in Melbourne, India surprised everyone, and they won the game, and they came back very strongly and said that no, we are in this contest, we are not going anywhere else. And then third test in Sydney, everyone thought Australia is going to win, and India showed their character and the patience, and then the team which is sitting in the bench, they all got opportunity to play in the main 11 because of a lot of injuries. And they really won, and everyone know about this Sydney test, and they made a draw. And it all came back to Brisbane, Brisbane, the beautiful Gabba Stadium, historic stadium. We all thought Australia is unbeatable last 58 years in Brisbane. Thought it's going to be easy peasy for them, but India again showed their strength and patience and resilience in the third day, and said no, we are here for contest, we are going to fight until we leave from here. So they showed that, and they showed really good in the first innings, and now it's all came back into the second innings, and today is the important day, and Border Gavaskar Trophy is online, and if India makes a draw, they still retain the trophy because they won last time in India, and also they won in Australia last time. So they will still retain the trophy. But if they make a win, which will be a historic win for India, but Australia will be very hard. I have seen the last 1 hour or half an hour game. They are really pumped up, and they are coming aggressive. They already got the wicket of Rohit Sharma. And I think India's plan will be to not too many wickets before the lunch, which is scheduled for 12:30, and they will try to keep the momentum going by defending and some loose shots. If any loose ball comes, give a go. But this is going to be one of the interesting days. So we don't know what's going to happen after lunch, but India's plan will be to keep less wickets, don't lose too many wickets, and play until lunch. And the Australia plan will be to get at least 4 or 5 wickets before the lunch, so that they go strong. As you know, that your weather forecast, which you published before this interview, it shows that little bit rain after 3-4 p.m. But if the rain comes, it will be a draw match.
Yes, and you have quite rightfully said that this will be a very, very historic day and a very historic moment. Now, just reflecting on our Indian side, the Indian team, what's your thought and what's your opinion on the team that's been put together?
So, India, there is 1.3 billion people trying to be in that 30-member squad, which is very hard. You got to train hard. You got to go through a pain journey. It's not easy to come into an Indian team. So unfortunately, we had a lot of injuries this series. Ishant Sharma couldn't come, and then Mohammad Shami, when he came in, he got injured. Bumrah got a little bit injured this game, but luckily, India's preparation, since Saurav Ganguly and Rahul Dravid, all these big cricket players involved in the management, because Saurav Ganguly is the BCCI president, and Rahul Dravid is our India A team coach, and mainly Ravi Shastri, who is the current coach for Indian team. So because they got all this cricket knowledge and the management and cricket BCCI, they had good skills. They had a really really good bench players, they call, who all came to this team by showing their talent in IPL, like, Natarajan, Saini, all these players who we don't know where they are. They all showed their skills by playing for international competition like IPL, and they showed their power, and they came into the team. Luckily, because we had a lot of injuries, we could pull these players from the bench players, and India have stunned the world, saying that like they are here to fight, and real credit to the BCCI, Ravi Shastri, Rahul Dravid, for having this complete different scenario of selection, training, academy, and IPL. And now it all helps, and Australia is under pressure, to be honest, because they haven't expected this Indian lineup to be like this. Even the bench players are so strong in Indian lineup. But saying that, we got to give full credit to Australia, because they had this sandpaper gate couple of years ago, but they're in the whole fans were down. The fans were not supporting them, but they came back very strongly. Especially Stephen Smith and David Warner came back, and they showed that they also, having some hardcore cricket inside them. So we got to give credit to them as well. But again, look, it's been 3 months. We still couldn't able to take a winner of this two great nation. They're still fighting till the last minute, and we won't know until 5 p.m. today who's going to be the winner of this last 3-4 month series.
And quite rightfully said, when it is a tough call for us when Australia and India are playing.
Yes.
And of course, we have to look at both sides. Now, for you talked about the Australian team, and for Australian team, there was a lot of commentaries that they let their guard down too soon, and that they were a little bit complacent, and that they didn't take things seriously. So, what's your comments on that?
So I think Tim Payne and the coach Langer, they know about this Indian team, main 11. They know they're going to come strong. But after seeing the second test win in Melbourne and the third test draw in Sydney, this match, they came up with a lot of caution. They don't want to, give a 58-year history record to be broken. So I think from my point of view, they came a little bit cautious to Brisbane, but which favored India to use the loophole. Like, for example, yesterday they could have drawn the match after tea. But they didn't do it. They just went for batting again, Australia, and they want to get another 50 more runs to be on the safe side. So, which is what, if you see the social media, they're all saying that I think Australia should have declared when they were 250, but they went till 325 because they don't know what this Indian side will do. They may come and, Rishabh Pant and Rohit may come and smash like 300 runs and take this series away and the win away. So they are being cautious. And again, look, we can't judge them because, it's a nation online, border online, and the trophies online. So I think they were cautious, but I think they still have chance today, and they may come back strongly, and they may take all these 10 wickets and prove to the world that they are number one.
So as far as we know, it could be anyone's match at this point in time, and
Absolutely.
We'll have to wait till 5 p.m.
Yes, and I hope the weather god stays away, but Australia will be coming aggressive. India will be going cautious for the first 2 hours of this game.
Yes, of course, had it been different circumstances, there would not be a single seat empty in Gabba. But it is happening under the current conditions. But anyway, it's happening. It's here in Gabba, So, we'll probably catch up with you again tomorrow or something after after that, and get a sort of an analysis of how things went. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and anything else you'd like to say with all our viewers before?
Thank you for Umesh and the Brisbane Indian Times and Australian Indian Radio. And don't go anywhere. This is going to be a very, very crucial game for both the nations. And we are going to have a cracker of the day.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. Thank you.
Thank you, Umesh.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Sathish Rajendran, and I'd like to thank him once again for taking time out to come and talk to us. And as we know, he's very passionate about cricket, having launched the Brisbane Super Kings, which is very, very successful. And we just attended the annual awards together with Councillor Angela Owen, Paul Scar and Cricket Australia. Well, right now, moving on the other news, what's happening with vaccine? So, when we talk about vaccine, yesterday we saw one of the largest vaccine rollout and the system being put in place in India. But World Health Organization has a view that it's always not very fair where and how it will all be distributed. Let's get an update from World Health Organization.
I need to be blunt. The world is on the brink of a catastrophic moral failure. And the price of this failure will be paid with lives and livelihoods in the world's poorest countries. Even as they speak the language of equitable access, some countries and companies continue to prioritize bilateral deals, going around COVAX, driving up prices and attempting to jump to the front of the queue. This is wrong. Not only does this me-first approach leave the world's poorest and most vulnerable people at risk, it's also self-defeating. Ultimately, these actions will only prolong the pandemic, prolong our pain. The restrictions needed to contain it, and human and economic suffering.
And as mentioned that, this kind of actions will always, have action on people who are vulnerable, who are weak. And he's talking about some of the, third world countries as well, who are not able to, fund those vaccines. So it will be, let's see. The other part is a good news coming out of India. As we know, India has got the seat at the United Nations Security Council, and here's the restoration when they install the flag. Quite a proud moment.
Excellencies, as India assumes the membership of the Security Council for the 8th time, it's an honor for me as the permanent representative of India to take part in today's flag installation ceremony. It is a proud moment for my country and my delegation. I thank my Prime Minister for the trust he has reposed in me to represent my country in the Security Council. I am grateful to the Minister of External Affairs for his support. I am grateful to all the member states of the United Nations who have given us an overwhelming mandate to represent them in the Security Council. My deep appreciation to the delegation of Kazakhstan for instituting this practice of the flag ceremony, and our best wishes to Tunisia for helming the reins of the Security Council for January. Our appreciation to the outgoing members, Belgium, Dominican Republic, Germany, Indonesia, and South Africa. We are inspired by their contribution to the Council's work over the last 2 years. We welcome the delegation of Ireland, Kenya, Mexico, and Norway as we begin our 2-year journey together. Excellencies, the United Nations has completed 75 years of its existence, and so has the Security Council. India comes into the Security Council as the largest democracy representing 1/6 of humanity, and with a very strong commitment to reformed multilateralism, rule of law, a fair and equitable international system, and to peace, security, and development. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, we stand united as one, bound by our ethos of democracy, pluralism, and commitment to fundamental rights. We will use our tenure to bring human-centric and inclusive solutions to matters of international peace and security. India will be a voice for the developing world. We will not shy away from raising our voice against the common enemies of humanity like terrorism, peacekeeping, peace building, maritime security, women and youth, especially in conflict situations, and technology with a human face will receive our attention while on the Council. We look forward to our collective pursuit for an ideal where the world is one family, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam. Even as the world comes together in solidarity to face the COVID-19 pandemic, which has thrown our lives out of gear, we would do well to remember the words of the great Indian philosopher Swami Vivekananda, who said, and I quote, "Each nation must give in order to live. When you give life, you will have life. When you receive, you must pay for it by giving to all others." Thank you.
So, as now that India has secured a seat at the UN Security Council for 2021-2022, well done. I think it's a very, very proud moment for all of us.
GlobeNet Realty. GlobeNet Realty has been the longest established, trusted and respected agency in its trade area. Washa Chandra, Director of GlobeNet Realty, provides honest and ethical service to her customers. If you are thinking of investing in Brisbane real estate market, or if you are seeking professional property management, then you should contact Usha Chandra today on landline 3865 4466 or mobile 0419 775 416. And for further updates, log on to our website www.globenetralty.com.au. GlobeNet Realty is your own local real estate agency. Situated at Shop 52281 Sandgate Road, Boondall. GlobeNet Realty. Real estate is our world.
And of course, real estate being the world, tomorrow we will have an update on what's happening in the real estate area, get some current market updates, look at what of the yields, look at number of listings and all that, presented by GlobeNet Realty, which will be in tomorrow's show. So that's every Wednesday is when we have the real estate update with Usha Chandra of GlobeNet Realty. Well, right now, moving on, one of the things that is of prime importance, and we will be talking to the Prime Minister about that, is what's going to happen with JobKeeper. Why is not being extended? What are the reasonings, and how do we get Australian economy back on track?
I can tell you the biggest thing that will restore the budget, and has restored it in the past and got us back to balance, is getting Australians back in work. That's what balances budgets. When Australians no longer need income support from taxpayers and become taxpayers themselves. That is the secret to good, strong budget management, as well as having a sharp pencil, as Gladys and I know. The JobKeeper is, there are estimates, and they're demand-based estimates, and as demand changes, well, obviously those estimates change.
Well, of course, as the demand changes, the estimate changes, and keeping that budget in line and having that sharp pencil, some key words there from our Prime Minister. Well, right at the moment, Queensland, as we were in that lockdown and there were many borders that were closed to up, they are all easing out slowly. Here's an announcement from Tasmania.
We're going to step our risk rating down from high risk to medium risk, effective immediately. This means that Effective immediately, travellers from the Greater Brisbane area will be able to travel to Tasmania. However, they will still be required to quarantine either at a suitable residence if they have one or in government designated accommodation at their own expense. So the high risk rating has been lifted and we will move to medium risk immediately, meaning that people can come to Tasmania, but obviously there will still be a quarantine arrangement in place. By this coming Friday, though, noting the steps that have been outlined by Queensland, I'd be hopeful that, subject to the situation in Brisbane continuing its positive trend, we could move to classify Greater Brisbane as low risk, meaning a return to unrestricted travel from the Greater Brisbane area from the end of this week. In terms of the Greater Sydney region, this is currently classified as medium risk, and whilst New South Wales recorded no new cases of locally acquired infection in the past 24 hours, yesterday the state had 6 new cases, and authorities are continuing to urge the community to get tested to ensure any unknown transmission is detected. Based on this and informed by our public health officials, we intend to maintain our medium risk classification for the time being for the Greater Sydney region and the Wollongong local government area. We believe this is a responsible and sensible approach. We need to ensure that we are confident that there aren't any cases in the community which haven't yet been detected before we look to move that risk assessment to a lower rating. Again, we'd expect to have an update on the status of Greater Sydney at the end of this week. And finally, in terms of Victoria, travel from the entirety of the state of Victoria goes back to being low risk after a number of premises that were previously classified as high risk and centred around the Black Rock cluster have now been removed given the time that has passed since those declarations. So Greater Brisbane, medium risk, Greater Sydney region, medium risk, and low risk for Victoria, and we'll have a further update later this week in terms of the Greater Brisbane area and also Greater Sydney.
So that's some good news there from the Tasmania that we're moving up the ladder, and of course everyone's waiting for that deadline to see how we will fare after that. We'll keep you updated on that. Well, of course, now I spoke on this yesterday as well. It's about the people in quarantine. So when we mean people in quarantine, we mean people in quarantine. So, does it matter that you are a player, you are, a politician, you are a businessman, or what? So, meaning that a rule should apply to everyone. So, how are our players, especially the tennis players at this point in time in question, behaving in lockdown? Let's take a look.
Innovation in isolation. On day 4 of hotel lockdown, players unpacked much-needed deliveries and pushed their confines to the limit. After describing the conditions as insane, French player Elise Cornet sent Twitter into meltdown, prompting her to apologise. She said, "Your reaction to this tactless comment made me realise what you've been through last year and how much you suffered." The backlash didn't end there. World number 1 Novak Djokovic reportedly issued a letter to Tennis Australia demanding fitness and training equipment in all hotel rooms, better food, a reduced number of days in hard isolation, permission to visit your coach, and to move players to private homes with a tennis court for practice.
People are free to provide lists of demands, but the answer is no.
Daniel Andrews says no one will get special treatment.
People were told what the rules were. The rules will not be changing because the public health advice is where those rules came from.
It's not ideal, obviously. We're all not going to be as fit after the 14 days when we come out of it.
The number of players in hard hotel quarantine has grown to 72 after another positive case was revealed overnight. Some have complained about the conditions, but they're getting little sympathy.
Harden up. I mean, as I understand it, the get through the first round, there's $100,000 on offer to any player that does that. That's not a bad payday in anyone's mind.
Players who tested negative were ready to hit the courts, but were told to stay in their rooms. So far, one player has tested positive, but test results for the entire playing cohort have been delayed. It means COVID-negative players are set to enter another day of strict lockdown. And while most appear happy to follow the rules, preparation for next month's Grand Slam is becoming more difficult. Tom Maddox, ABC News, Melbourne.
And of course, it is getting a bit problematic. And as the Premier Daniel Andrews said, no, the rules are not changing. Well, another part is the concern over the vaccines. Of course, any vaccine that's been put out needs to go through the trials and tribulations. They need to be tried, tested, and any side effects or whatever being ironed out. But there have been concerns over the number of deaths and whether we have rushed into this. Let's take a look at this report.
Never before have new vaccines been developed, tested and rolled out to millions in less than a year. So when there's news of a potential problem, like the deaths of frail elderly people in Norway, how do we make sense of it? Clinical trials lasting a few months have been conducted in around 40,000 people for each vaccine. But they only tell you about side effects in those selected for the trial. Rare side effects in the real world usually emerge after a vaccine has been released. That's when it became clear there's a small risk of serious allergy with the Pfizer vaccine. Now there's the death of a US doctor due to hemorrhage from low blood platelets, and these deaths in frail elderly Norwegians. And let me tell you, there'll be more scares as vaccines are rolled out. Regulators have to separate coincidence from true vaccine effects, and then decide what to do. They do that by looking for similar reports from the millions of people already immunised and whether there are emerging patterns. Regulators are already onto the potential for a severe allergy or anaphylaxis from the Pfizer vaccine. And if there is a real risk to frail elderly, then they might be excluded from some vaccines. So far, the problem in the frail elderly doesn't seem to be widespread, so it may be that other countries aren't vaccinating terminally ill people. The story of the doctor's death is troubling, but his condition is so rare that it should be readily noticed and reported if it's happening elsewhere. So far, so good, but this is just the kind of side effect that does worry authorities, because unlike allergy and the frail elderly, they may be impossible to avoid. For you and me, watching from the sidelines, it's important to sit back a bit. Almost all these reports will end up being coincidence. And with huge amounts of data available in real time, serious problems should be able to be sorted out at high speed.
And that's the worrying report there. But of course, as we know, the vaccine is needed, very much needed. The side effects and the long-term things will emerge over time. Those things, the tests that have been done and conducted the results are based on the number of people that have been tested with those vaccine. Well, right now, here's the latest news from India, and this is from last night. As we know, when we come to broadcast, the news that comes to us from there is from the previous day. So, if there are mentions about things happening today, it meant yesterday and not today.
And now let's move to the headlines of the day. Budget session of Parliament from 29th January, Rajya Sabha to have question hour from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Strengthen whistleblower mechanism, says Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu. Urges corporates to ensure adequate safeguards to protect the whistleblowers. Prime Minister Narendra Modi performs groundbreaking ceremony of Ahmedabad and Surat metro rail projects, says country's transport facilities being expanded for future needs. Work underway on over 1,000-kilometer long metro network in 27 cities. COVID-19 vaccination rollout continues across the country. Over 1,48,000 people vaccinated in 25 states and union territories on the third day. 3,81,000 people vaccinated so far. And schools reopen after 10 months in Delhi and Rajasthan. Students of classes 10th and 12th attend school with precautions. Online classes continue for the other students. And let's begin with news related to Parliament. The budget session of Parliament will begin on 29th of January with all COVID-related protocols in place. The question hour will be taken up in the budget session. The Rajya Sabha chairman has directed that for the 253rd session of the Upper House, the question hour will be taken up from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. instead of 12 noon to 1 p.m. in the normal times. Also, notices of questions, both starred and unstarred, may be given either in the serially numbered printed forms or electronically through the e-notices portal. Here's a report. In a sitting, a member can give a maximum of 7 notices of questions for question hour. 15 questions are taken up in all in one sitting. The chairman has also decided that 2 supplementaries may be allowed to the member in whose name a starred question has been listed. 3 more members may be allowed a supplementary each. In case of a starred question that is not put or the member in whose name it is appearing is absent, 3 members may be allowed a supplementary each. The draw of lots or ballot to determine the members whose notices of questions will be taken up for oral answers will be held manually. A separate computerized ballot will be held for unstarred questions. It will indicate the priority for written answers for a list of 160 questions. In order to encourage the digital platform and also to minimize use of paper, from the 252nd session onwards, printed lists of questions to members has been discontinued. The soft copy of question lists will be published on the Rajya Sabha website. The list of starred and unstarred questions will also be available after publishing the list on the website in the members portal. Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi had moved a motion in the previous 252nd session stating that starred questions may not be brought for transaction because of COVID-19. The motion was unanimously accepted. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
So they were up to date on Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times daily live stream. And we'd like to thank our sponsors for the segment, Gaura Travel. And don't forget that tomorrow we'll have the real estate update with Usha Chandra. And right now it's time to look at some of the functions and events happening right here in Brisbane. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's time now to say goodbye. And it's been wonderful having your company. And don't forget that tomorrow we have the real estate update with Usha Chandra. And of course, keep an eye out on the weather. And if you're driving in flooded areas, please take care. And if it is flooded, forget it. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye from me. Enjoy the rest of the day. Most importantly, stay safe.